Magical Christmas Tales. Christabel's Christmas Wish. Have you ever lost something, then found it again when you were least expecting to? Have you ever thought something was broken only to find that it worked later? You might think it was just luck, but you'd be wrong. It was a house fairy at work. There are house fairies in every home, though. You will never see them. They are experts at hiding. Every day they flutter about the house, secretly finding and mending things, sweeping up biscuit crumbs and doing all the little jobs that busy humans forget to do. And the busiest time of the year, you've guessed it, Christmas. Fairies have to be at their most alert at Christmas time because that's when they're most likely to get caught. And everyone knows that fairies must be kept secret. Twins Chloe and Oliver Tate had a house fairy in their house, though they didn't know it for sure. They couldn't help noticing that odd things sometimes happened in their home. "Mum, did you find Teddy for me?" asked Chloe one day. "No," Mum replied. "I didn't know he was lost." "Then how did he get back on my pillow?" she wondered. It was a mystery. There were other things too, like the neat little stitches in Oliver's holey socks and what looked like tiny footprints on their dusty bookshelf. "I'm sure we've got a fairy in this house," Oliver told his parents as they examined a fresh trail of prints one morning. Mum and Dad laughed. "That would be lovely," Mum said, but Oliver and Chloe could tell that they didn't really believe them. Chloe and Oliver weren't so sure. "Thank you," they always whispered when they went to bed at night, just in case a fairy was listening. A fairy was listening, a very tiny, hard-working house fairy called Christabel. Christabel had been in Chloe and Oliver's house ever since it was built. She had watched lots of children grow up there over the years, but the twins were her favourite. How lovely to be thanked, she would think, when she heard their words each night. And they had something else in common. They all loved Christmas. It was Christmas in 2 weeks' time. If only she could share it with them. "I wish we could talk together and be friends. It does get so lonely in this big old house sometimes," she thought to herself sadly. Of course, Christabel knew that talking to the children was impossible. House fairies must never be seen by humans. But it didn't stop her from wishing. One night, just before Christmas, Christabel overheard the twins talking with their dad. "Dad, please, can we get the decorations down from the attic tomorrow?" begged Oliver. Dad nodded. "And we can put up the Christmas tree too. It's nearly Christmas Eve." "Hooray!" cried the twins, hopping around in excitement. "That's our favourite job." Christabel couldn't help smiling. Sorting out the Christmas decorations was her favourite job too. "I'd better tie some new silver thread on the baubles tonight," she thought to herself. "I must clean the tinsel too. It looked rather dusty last year." And off she fluttered to the attic to search for the box of decorations. She found it in a corner along with a bag of old Christmas wrapping paper and bows. The box was filled with a tangle of twinkling tinsel and glittering decorations. "How I wish I was a Christmas fairy so I could share Christmas Day with Chloe and Oliver," Christabel sighed as she began to untangle the colourful mess. "It really is no fun on my own." One by one, Christabel lifted the delicate baubles out of the box and laid them on a cushion. First she gave them a quick dusting by gently flapping her wings. Then she neatly knotted a new loop of silver thread on each one, before sprinkling it with fairy dust and replacing it in the box. Just a little extra magic sparkle to make the tree really special, she smiled to herself. Next, Christabel got to work on the tinsel. She hung it all across the attic and danced all the way along each tinsel string, shaking off the dust. By the time she had finished, the hard-working house fairy was tired out and covered in dust from head to toe. "Look at my wings and my dress," she sighed, trying to brush it off. "It's a good job no one ever sees me. I always look so grubby." The next morning, the twins were awake bright and early. They couldn't wait to decorate the tree. "Here you are, Chloe," said Dad, passing down the box of decorations from the attic. "You can start by putting some new loops on the baubles. Oliver, you can dust the tinsel." Chloe opened the box and looked inside. "That's strange," she exclaimed in surprise, showing the baubles to Oliver. They've already got new loops. Mum must have done it. Oliver gave the tinsel a quick shake. Not much dust this year either, he said, frowning at Chloe. That's strange. Your fairy must have been at work, joked Dad. Come on, you two. Let's get started. Chloe and Oliver glanced around suspiciously before following their dad downstairs. I wonder, they whispered under their breath. Chloe and Oliver spent all afternoon putting up the decorations with their parents. First they hung Christmas cards along ribbons on the wall and tinsel round the fireplace. Then they made long multicoloured paper chains to string across the living room. That looks great, cried Chloe. Now for the best job, decorating the tree. One by one, Chloe and Oliver hung their decorations on the tree while Mum draped silvery strands on the branches. Finally, there was just a large golden star left. Dad climbed up the ladder and fixed it to the very top before curling the Christmas lights in between the branches. Are you ready? He asked. Click! He flicked on the Christmas light switch. Everyone gasped. It looks beautiful, cried Chloe and Oliver together. It certainly does, agreed Dad. Your fairy must have sprinkled a bit of magic dust. Come on now, you two. It's time for bed. As the twins lay in bed that night, they thought about what their dad had said. I know he was only joking, whispered Oliver, but the tree did look magical. Maybe a fairy did help make it look so beautiful. Chloe nodded. But if there is a fairy in this house, why have we never seen it? I've looked everywhere I can think of, in all the cupboards, under the beds. Are you two still awake? Interrupted Mum, peering around the bedroom door. It's getting late. The twins closed their eyes and pretended to go to sleep until they were sure their mum had gone. Maybe our fairy only comes out at night, suggested Chloe. That would explain why we haven't seen her. I bet you're right, whispered Oliver excitedly. I think it's time for us to do some investigating. Somebody else was awake too. The hard-working little house fairy was busy trying to get all the dust from the attic off her dress and wings. I wonder what the Christmas tree looks like, she thought, as she sat polishing her wings. I hope my magic sparkles did the trick. Just then the clock in the hallway chimed. I know, she decided. I'll go and take a peek. Everyone will be fast asleep in bed by now. Christabel fluttered down the stairs to the living room and perched on the mantelpiece over the fireplace. She gazed around the room with a smile. Everything looked so cheery and festive. If only I could see it all on Christmas Day, she sighed. It's so dull on my own. Then she had a daring idea. Maybe I could hide somewhere on Christmas morning before anyone gets up. Then I could watch the twins open their presents. No one would know if I was very careful. Suddenly, Christabel heard a creak and the living room door opened. Quick as a flash, she darted behind one of the Christmas cards to hide. It was the twins. What on earth are Chloe and Oliver doing downstairs in the middle of the night? Wondered Christabel, peeking out to get a better look. She was so busy watching the children she didn't see the tall candlestick right beside her. Oops! Over it toppled with a loud clatter. Who's there? Cried Chloe and Oliver. They just caught sight of a tiny foot before it disappeared behind some tinsel. A fairy! Exclaimed Oliver in triumph. I knew it! Chloe crept over to the fireplace. Please don't be scared, she called softly. We won't hurt you. Oh dear, cried Christabel, fluttering out from behind the card. I'll be in so much trouble now. But why? Asked Chloe, looking concerned. You only knocked over a candlestick. It was an accident. It's not the candlestick, sobbed Christabel. I'm not supposed to be seen. Imagine what it'd be like if everybody knew that fairies existed. We'd never get a moment's peace. But sometimes I just get so lonely in this big old house on my own, especially at Christmas. Please don't worry, said Oliver sympathetically. Chloe and I won't tell anyone we saw you. We promise. We're very good at keeping secrets. Thank you, sniffed Christabel, wiping the tiny tears from her cheeks. You're both very kind. I suppose I'd better go now before anyone else comes in. It's been lovely talking to you. Wait! Cried Chloe suddenly. I've got an idea. How would you like to join us on Christmas Day? I promise no one will see you. Would that make you happy? "Oh, yes!" exclaimed Christabel. "But how?" "Yes, how?" repeated Oliver. Chloe grinned. "Come with me and I'll show you both," she said mysteriously. "All you need is a pretty new dress. I've got some Christmas ribbon in my room. It will be perfect for what I have in mind." On Christmas morning, Chloe and Oliver couldn't wait for everyone to gather round the Christmas tree after breakfast, and not just because they wanted to open their presents. "Doesn't our tree look wonderful?" the twins asked Mum and Dad, winking at each other. "I don't think it's ever looked more beautiful," replied Mum. "It looks magical this year, especially the Christmas fairy on the top. What a beautiful outfit she's wearing. But where did she come from? I don't remember seeing her in the decoration box." "Neither do I," said Dad, puzzled. "I thought I put a star on the top of the tree this year. Do you two know where she came from?" The twins shrugged and smiled mischievously. "Maybe she's one of those fairies you keep talking about," they giggled. "Maybe she is," laughed Dad. "Who knows?" But Chloe and Oliver knew, and so do we.